I've seen things. A few things before. Left the sun and moon behind. Galaxies waiting to be found.
Hello everybody, you're watching Gamereactor. This is Anders Mai, and I just played half an hour of No Man's Sky. It's a gigantic game, and I know this is going to be hard, but can you give us the short pitch on the game?
The short pitch. Yeah, it is hard, but I guess in some ways it's a simple game. What we're doing is we're taking the computer, we're taking the PlayStation 4, and we're letting it create the universe for us. So that's all the stars, all the planets that orbit it, with life on them and things like that. And then we're setting players loose. We start them all on a different planet, on the outside edge of the universe, and then the aim, I guess, for some people would be to journey to the center of the universe.
You talked about today about 4 different ways to play. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
So as a player, you have various choices open to you, and it's actually a really open kind of sandbox game. It's a sandbox experience, and I guess for players they choose between survival, trading, fighting, and exploring. And for most players, they'll probably do a mix of all of those things. That's kind of what I call like the Han Solo character, right? He's doing a little bit of everything. But some players will just want to explore, some players will just want to fight, and that's fine. We encourage that too. It's all about that kind of sandbox thing, whatever you sit down and you feel like doing.
Perfect. We also saw a couple of different alien factions in this half an hour. Learn their language and that stuff. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so we have a variety of kind of factions, NPCs in the game for you to interact with. You have to learn their language if you want to be able to understand what they're telling you, and if you want to be able to interact with them. And as you do, it will change your status with those races. And different races have different kind of attributes. So some are more scientific based, some are more explorers, some are more warriors. And so as a player, if you were purely combat based, you might make friends with certain races, or you might take sides with other kind of factions, and you use that to your advantage. So the more you learn their language, the more you interact with them in a kind of a positive way, the higher your standing will be, and the more options they will open to you. So they will perhaps give you better prices for trading, offer you technology that you wouldn't have had before, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Let's go back to the beginning. When you begin the game, are you at absolute zero, no resources, no spaceship, or how will the beginning be?
Yeah, every player starts on their own planet, and they're pretty kind of rock bottom. And this is a familiar thing to gamers who've played kind of sandbox games. You start off on kind of the lowest rung, right? And actually that's quite rewarding to build yourself up from there. Actually, I like that moment of a player spending a little bit of time building up their character just on one planet before they ever even manage to break out of the atmosphere. For you guys playing today, we have things balanced a little bit, so it's a lot easier for you to get around. But actually for the players starting off, we want them to really earn that exploration. We want it to take some time before they ever even, break out of that first planet they start on, and then even longer before they ever kind of leave that solar system. And for each of those things to be kind of a nice moment for them.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about this procedurally generated universe, but there's still a clear art style to the game. Can you tell us a little bit about the art?
Yeah, I think the aesthetic of the game is an interesting one. We go for something that I think if you were to freeze frame the game at various moments, it looks a little bit like a sci-fi book cover. And that's what we want. We want a universe that's pretty, right? And a universe that's beautiful, because we think that a vibrant, beautiful universe is more interesting to explore. And that if it was more realistic and space was just entirely black and every planet was pretty much just a dull rock that you could mine, then you'd be less inclined to go out and explore, right? We want a kind of a boundless, vibrant universe, and that's kind of the real appeal of the game. If you were discovering creatures, you want them to be crazy and wild and crazy dinosaurs and weird little bugs and things like that.
But on that note, if do there have to be water on the planet for there to be life, and is there a full day-night cycle on every planet, or how will that work?
There's day-night cycle on every planet, and it's based on the planet rotating around its axis and things like that. In terms of life, generally you will find life where there is water. Sometimes there's life where it's not entirely visible that there's water. So for instance, if you were to land in one of our deserts, you would still find life, but you wouldn't necessarily be that obvious that there are oceans and things like that. And we do that to make it more interesting as much as anything, and it's based around things like your proximity to the sun and stuff like that, as to whether you will be an ice planet or a very hot planet, that kind of thing. It's an online game, so you can name planets and creatures, but how often will I encounter other players and that stuff? So the chances of you landing on a planet that somebody else has been to are actually really small.
Okay.
The chances of you being in the same planet at the same time as somebody else is incredibly small, right? It genuinely may never happen, and so that's something for people to be aware of. If you are looking for a Call of Duty deathmatch experience, this is probably not the game for you, right? But if you enjoyed things like Journey and the kind of interactions that you get in things like Dark Souls and things like that, then we hope to give that to players, so that you will be aware of other players. But it's not really about, multiplayer and playing, building up factions and having a little battle, having a death match, that kind of thing. That's not really what the game is about. Now, after the game comes out, that's an area that I think we could be doing so much more with, right? I think the community will decide how they play it, and if the game is popular, we'd like to really nurture what the community wants.
So thank you so much for taking your time to speak with me today.
No problem. Yeah, really nice to chat to you.
Thank you. Thanks.